Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, and back for part 2 of the EX2 beatdown battle clears for the new antagonist cliche stage. Part 1 released either yesterday or days ago, not really sure where it's going to be released, but that was full of orange-focused teams with orange protectors. Today, we're going to use, not that team, but we're going to use not orange-focused teams to clear this. So, as a recap, they have a decent amount of HP. They have very low stats, though. They have physical resistance, which we proved yesterday we can kind of just get through anyways. And they all have a cleanse ability, so they cannot be traditionally vengeanced down. No glue eating for you today. So, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Alright, the first team will be the Exalted Champions team, going with Space Guy as our nuking character. Velzard is leading it. Yes, there is a green debuff on the stage, but we're going to try and negate most of it with Veldora. We're bringing free-to-play Cliche for her turn 1 orb change because we kind of need it. And then Violet, big-time magic buff, Guy with his synergy. They don't have synergy resistance on the stage, so we're going to be full power there. And then we're going to bring the Masked Hero. 1 for her rewind ability, and 2, because we can also crit this stage, we will just get extra damage there. So, turn 1, we will use Cliche's orb change, as, that's the whole reason we brought her. We don't really need her for anything else. But, I do want that extra protection gauge. So we'll bring Guy in, and then we'll bring the Masked Hero in. And her rewind is going to be pretty important, because since greens do still have a nerf, we're not going to get as much as you would like out of those. So by giving it extra protection gauge, it means that we can cycle Velzard a little bit easier. So, not a lot of Guy orbs here. Not the biggest problem, though, because we have the rewind ability. And once we get enough points, we can just alt-rush him anyways. So, we can... I think I'm thinking about what I want to do here. So yeah, rewind. This will give all orbs extra protection gauge. We'll swap her out now, because we don't need her buff until the nuke. And then we'll use the Veldora green buff ability. And then we don't have enough points to use Guy's alt rush, but it's fine, because these two buffed greens should cover that last little bit of his alt gauge, and then that means that on the rewind, we can just use his alt rush, and that'll give him his EX alt. So, rewind kicks in, and there we go. 100 points, ready to do it, alt rush here, and then we don't have enough to use the magic buff with the hero, or not hero, but Violet. Not really the biggest deal. So we're going to get a full other hand here. And are we actually not going to alt rush? No, okay, we do. Alright. And then, okay, we just go ahead and send it. So I guess we're going to wait for the 130 points, and we'll use the synergy and magic buff next turn then. Yeah, because now we have the EX alt with Violet as well. So we've got an AoE nuker, and then we've got a single target to maybe follow up. But now we can use both buffs. We do want to use the crit buff with the hero, because we're going to need that extra little bit of damage, so it is kind of important. My hero is skill fused, but you have to use 100 points in one turn to actually get anything out of it, and we just used 105 right here, but it's not the nuke. So her skill fusion really doesn't mean anything in this specific team setup, because we're not using more than 100 points on turn 4. Well, no, we're not. No, we're not. So, Guy comes in, Violet comes in for Veldora, because we need the hero buff, and then we'll go ahead and use it. And, I mean, we have enough points to use another stack of synergy resistance down, so we might as well. Get the element buff, get the full hand of greens, and then we'll send the Guy nuke. Violet will follow up, and then the rest of the orbs, which I wish for more Guys, but it doesn't matter, because Guy kills. Pretty much just barely would one-shot them. But you can see we do need the hero buff, as well as the synergy, and the magic, and the element buff from Velzard. Alright, next up is... I'm going to be honest with you, this was not a fun team. It took quite a while to get this run, so if you have one of the other options, either from this video or past video, please use that instead. But technically, Goddess of Destiny does do extra damage against dark enemies. It is magic, it is crit focused, so we can use it here. It's just not a very strong option because it's so very RNG. Follow-up orbs, not super great. We only have really one orb changer plus the future hand of greens from Soka, but it's rough because this team is nerfed greens, and we only have rain to really get out of that. So it's an option. It's not a great one. So again, Cleash, turn 1, will convert for us. I found that bringing her was kind of necessary to get this team rolling, because trying to just send 4 oranges on turn 1, it was not cutting it. We were not able to do such things. I also found that Soka being in slot 1 is not the greatest, since the next incoming orb is guaranteed orange, and if I wanted greens, I'd have to swap the first unit out. So we ended up putting her in the second slot, which works out not so great here, because she gets a lot of the orbs. But I think what I do is I just end up sending these. So we are doing extra damage with everyone but Cleash on this team, which is nice, and it does help us kind of take their HP down a bit. But we have 53 points now, so we can use both of the orb changes with Trya, and then we can bring the hero in, who is an AoE character, and then we can use Mirren, give the greens extra skill point gain, and the follow-up orbs. So, it's cool and everything. I actually should have sent Rain last, because she's doing more damage because she's magic and not physical, but I thought that the type advantage would get through that. Not the case. So here, we got all the skill points back, which is great and everything. And we have a pretty decent hand, so we can use the free orb change from the hero. We could bring Trya in to just do one single convert, and then we can swap Rain out for Soka, and we can use the green buff, so we get a little bit of gauge back, and we're kind of able to offset the debuff that the stage is put on. So there's that. There's that. We have exactly 40 points, so we can use the future hand of green skill, which gives us extra damage on greens, and will guarantee that the next hand will be, normal green orbs plus whatever alts that we happen to get. 15k, 15k. We're doing okay here. But again, it took, I think, an hour and a half to get this specific run with this team. It was legitimately painful. So, and it took a lot of kind of figuring out the exact team build, because I tried to bring Veldora first, and then I realized I had Rain, and then Veldora was he was a hindrance. I needed more damage, and even here, it's like, it's not super hunky-dory. I used that orb change specifically to give Soka extra alt gauge, because Trya gives 10% alt gauge to Goddess of Destiny characters when you use her self-convert. So I was trying to do that so I could get the EX alt for Soka with the nerfed greens and everything, and I do. So now we have Soka's alt, which is AoE, we have the hero's alt, which is AoE, and then we have Rain's alt, which is single target in the back. So I'm hoping that with that, we will have just enough power to kill on turn 5 here, with the resistance down, the orb damage, the attack buff from Soka, and the magic buff from Rain, which unfortunately, now that it's turn 5, is at half power. One thing I really don't like about her. After turn 3, her buff is not great. Not great at all. But at least we will have follow-up orbs. We have 3 normal orbs that we can use for the hero, so it's better off to use those. So the hero, her ult, 63k, not great. 201k for Soka, though. And then, we didn't have any orbs for Rain. Okay, well, if we had had the ult for Rain, we would have killed much more easily there. But the follow-up orbs, because we had 2 AoE ults, hit them again, and then the follow-up normals were actually able to take them out. So it's possible to use this team. My Soka is level 120, my Mirren is level 120, my Rain is 116. Like, these are all my hero is 120. These are all very contributing factors to their damage output. Let's not get any mistakes made about that. But if you go like another turn or something, you get a little bit extra damage or something, you get a better 6 hand send, you get 3 alts, maybe it's a bit more viable. Alright, now we're going to go, instead of burst teams, we're going to go stacking teams for the remainder of this video. Starting with the Overlord team, we do have a type advantage character, the free-to-play Nabe. So we're gonna bank on that. Is that the best idea? God, no, but I'm gonna do it anyways because it's funny. We're gonna bring Milim for the alt buff, Octagram Lumi for the permanent alt buff and the AoE damage, Overlord Shizu for the alt resistance down and weakness strike, which Nabe is light, so that'll work, and then Veldora to help us get around the green nerf. So we have 3 orb changers here, Nabe, Veldora, Milim, so we're looking pretty good, and we're just going to stack until we can make Nabe do 500,000 AoE damage with no EX ult, right? Because she's a free-to-play character. So the main thing that I've found, even in EX2, especially running this team, is that you're not going to live to turn 8 with everyone alive. Because all 3 of them ult you on turn, like, 3 or turn 4, and they don't do a lot of damage. But with the stacking physical resistance down and alt resistance down on our own team, okay, we're going to burn a turn there, by the time they get to turn 8, they have stacked up their own attack, and they have stacked enough debuffs on us where Gobta's single target almost kills somebody. And then we have the 2 AoEs from Xion and Gabiru, who are going to follow up, and whoever got hit by that single target alt will die. It's not really a great thing. So you're going to want to nuke on turn 7 at bare minimum kill Gobta, because if you can take out his single target, the AoEs are not guaranteed to kill you. You'll still be very, very low on HP though, and it's just going to take 8 turns to get to that point. Because you can see we're only taking 1 damage here, but the lower our physical resistance goes and the higher their attack goes, we will start to take more and more damage. So for the first 6 turns of this fight, all we are doing is orb changing and sending 6 greens, using the Veldora buff, using the stacks from Lumi. I don't think we need to sit here for all 7 turns because this is like a 10-minute clip or something. But as long as we can show the first couple of things, we've used the Veldora buff, we'll use the orb changes, whoever you need to bring in and out to really get a full hand of greens is what you're going to want to do. It's not worth trying to focus on getting a lot of ult for Nabe super duper quickly. It's better to get a lot of greens so you can get skill points, so you can use orb changes and everything necessary. You can build up in ult later on, and it doesn't really matter because she's not an EX unit. You don't need 2 bars of ult for her. While it does make it easier to have a lot of ult because of the ult swap with Shizu, you really want to make sure you're not sending a lot of dead turns because you want a lot of stacks of Remove for that element damage, just to help Nabe do enough to get you through the danger. So, turn 4, let's skip ahead to turn 6, and we've got a full hand of greens here. We're about ready to nuke on turn 7. We've got the EX ult for Shizu, we've got a double ult for Nabe. We're looking okay here. So this is where they're going to give their ults, and this is where we need to take Gobta out, at bare minimum. So we're going to send the AoE, and then we're going to send the single target against Gobta, and pray to God that we kill him. We've got full stacks from Lumi already from the past 6 turns, so let's use 1 more stack of Rimuru, extra element damage, and then the weakness strike, alt resistance down, the alt damage buff from Milim, and we'll do a full hand of converting, which I thought would have hit that, but I guess not. So we'll bring Veldora in for Milim and then use his convert. But at least we have 140 points. We're going to make back a lot more here. So now we've got to send it on Gobta. AoE, the alt, and then the follow-up orbs will go to somebody else. 270k, 230k. Gobta is now dead. Everyone is pretty low on HP on their side, but yep, there's a hit there. Gabiru, 5,000 damage, and then a follow-up attack. And then Xion, she crit against Shizu, which is really unfortunate. So she almost died right there. But we do have another AoE ult, and because we sent full hands of, well, almost a full hand of green last turn, we have enough points to use everything again. And whatever damage we did last turn, we're just going to do again with Nabe. So this will be enough to kill. But if we hadn't taken Gobta out, somebody else would have died. Probably Shizu. So there is a slight amount of danger there. But there we go, 284, and we're able to finish them off on turn 8. It is possible, and if you have a better AoE light character, then definitely bring them, and you'll get the EX ult. You'll do double the damage. But I just wanted to make a little bit of a funny thing using Nabe to do this. Alright, and the final 2 teams are going to be blue stacking teams. This one is going to be Visions of Coleus. Since EX2 does not have that massive synergy resistance buff on the enemy, we can safely use the full power of this team. We do have a single, though we have a lot of single target nukers here. Blanc is type advantage though, so she'll be at maximum power. We've taken out the free-to-play Cleash from that meta and brought in the new Cleash because we want that turn 1 convert and want an alt gauge. You do need a little bit of RNG with this team, and we're going to burn off more than a few turns because I want to get the very good setup for the rainbow orbs with Coleus Rimuru. So you will need maybe a little bit of patience if you want to use this team, unless you get really lucky. Turn 1, Cleash, orb change. She's really good, actually, because she's not only giving a full hand of oranges, which is a lot of alt gauge to start out for our 3 nukers, but we are getting extra protection gauge, so we can actually get a stack of Lumi on turn 2, which is good. However, I RNG'd myself into a turn where I could use her orb change again on turn 2, so it took a couple resets for that. Not a lot, but a couple. So we're going to do it again, and this means that we're going to have a lot of alt gauge and 2 guaranteed orbs for Jean and Violet, and Jean actually gets her EX ult. And this means that we're going to have, at some point, 2 guaranteed ults. So next turn, okay, we've got 3 more oranges. I can't use her again, but what I could do is I could bring Blanc in for Cleash, and then just send the oranges. That'll give us 3 ults, and then we have a blue and another incoming blue, which means that the next hand is going to be 3 alts and 3 blues, which we can then swap. And because we have 70 points, we can now have enough to use the rainbow orbs from Rimuru. And Jean already has her EX ult, so she doesn't really need to be up front anymore. So we'll stack with Lumi, and then we'll alt swap away, and then we'll swap Jean for Coleus Rimuru, get the rainbow orbs. This will get the EX ults for Violet and Blanc, and then we're going to be looking pretty good. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So triple EX ults. Unfortunately, we have 239 points. So not enough to use the 3 big time buffs. So we're going to burn another turn. And thankfully, we got some pretty good orb RNG here. We got 3 oranges, 1 blue, 2 alts. Cleash, we can swap out for Jean. That'll take away one of the oranges. So then we can simply alt swap and then use Violet's convert. And that will give us a full hand of blues, another stack of Lumi here and next turn, and that'll put us at the 300 skill point gap, which means that we have enough to use all the buffs now, not just the 3 big time ones, but also the 55%, or the 55 point EX alt buff from Jean herself, which also puts space resistance down, which will help Jean and Violet. Blanc is going to do a lot of damage because she has type advantage, so we don't really need to worry about that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, 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 and boom. 1 more stack of Lumi, and now we will alt, and we got 2 follow-up orbs, which we're not going to need. So we'll send 1, 2, and 3. Blanc does 1.6 million. Violet, 747, and Jean with her extra weakness strike, or synergy power, 939. So 3 single target alts, fairly painless, maybe a bit of RNG for that turn 2 for that additional orb change hand, but it still works out very, very well. And the final team I have for you today is going to be the Warriors Mind team. Again, bringing Coleus Rimuru because Rainbow Orbs are just too good, but we're going to stack attack with Velzard, and that's pretty much all she does. She's an older protector now at this point. Fount of Wisdom Rimuru is going to handle our oranges and also have a physical buff. If we go to turn 8, then we can instead use Lumi, whose buff is better. But if we nuke any time before turn 8, Rimuru is better. Guy, single target, gives us ult, gives us the crit, and then Violet and Lumi are the AoE nuking characters here. So in theory, we'll have ult, guaranteed crits, physical damage, crit resistance down, crit damage and ult resistance down on everybody, plus whatever attack stacks we can get off with Velzard herself. So again, we don't have a converter for turn 1. We're going to have to kind of RNG our way into really good hands of natural blues once we can get a stack of Velzard. Both Lumi and Violet in the back don't have protection gauge on turn 2, so we left them in the back. But now this turn, we will bring them up front so we can get maximum protection gauge on turn 3. But we actually did get a good hand here, so it's like I could convert this with Rimuru now, or we could just wait, because I don't have a stack of Velzard, which means all these blue orbs that we would get would not give us a lot back. So I kind of want to push it off until turn 3 when we can get all this extra protection gauge, and instead we'll bring Violet in, who also converts all of her own orbs, so we'll just send the one blue. We have the guaranteed blue coming in, and then between the Guy and the Violet and Blanc protection gauges that are under supports, we can now convert and give everyone a stack and get some extra skill points on the blue orbs. So we got pretty lucky there, and these are our nuking characters, so we're just going to run it. We don't have any turn 2 protection gauge at this point. So 10,000 damage there. Alright. This is an okay hand. We can work with it. And we do have 95 points now, which is a lot better. So we'll use Guy, because he'll change a green and an orange, and then this is why we brought Rimuru. You could bring a different blue orb changer. You could bring free-to-play Rieger if you wanted, because I do believe I go to turn 8 here, so we're not going to use the Fount of Wisdom Rimuru buff at all. So it might actually be better to bring Rieger. That way you have the converter and an alt-swapping character, who you're probably going to want to get. But we brought Rimuru in, we changed them all to rainbows, so now we have alts for both Violet and Lumi. But because we don't have an alt swapper, now it becomes a little bit difficult. So we're, I think, just going to let them ride with their 2 regular alts. So just know that we're missing quite a bit of damage because we're not going to get the EX alts for pretty much anybody. We're just going to get the normal Guy alt, the normal Violet, the normal Lumi, and do whatever we can to get as many stacks as possible by turn 8, so we can use the full power of Lumi's buff at least. But here's a good convert. We brought Rimuru in, converted with him, then we had a good Guy hand. This will get us very close to a Guy alt as well. And then we just have to burn enough points to use, 240, right? The Guy buff, the Violet buff, the Lumi buff. Yeah, so we need one more stack of Velzard to get to that 240 cap, and then we need to get 240 points of that. So here, another convert with Rimuru, and then Fount of Wisdom Rimuru's convert. We need to get these blues so we can get the final stack of Lumi, and then we're going to have to burn a turn 7 to get at least 20 points so we can use 3 big-time buffs. So here, we got a few blue orbs. Okay, sure, whatever. By sending this, we should get the ult with Guy. So we're going to bring Lumi and Violet in on the front line because we can just take... We're not going to use any of their orbs anyways. We could have at some point used Lumi's extra protection gimmick, but I didn't use it. It would have just gotten us a little bit extra attack and maybe a few extra skill points here and there. But let's get the stack on. So now we're capped at 260, so now we need 20 points, and we're going to get 23 here. And not Guy's alt, actually. Okay. I thought I got that yesterday. Oh well. Yeah. Voicing this over a day later, Violet's almost dead. This is what you get for going to turn 8. Someone is very close to death. If we didn't have really good gear and the extra stats and everything from a 120 Velzard, I think Violet would have actually died. So let's AoE alt with Violet first, or Lumi first, because she has a debuff on it, and then we'll hit with Violet. So 234, and then Violet does 224. So turn 8, Warrior's Mind able to do it. You do need the rainbow orbs to really get this team going, because you need the extra stacks of points, you need the extra stacks of protection gauge, and the alt gauge obviously is very important. But there are 5 more teams you can use to clear EX2 Beatdown Battle. A number of other teams do exist, so if you have any other team suggestions that I did not show in today's video or the other day's part 1 video, let me know in the comments. But that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.